We're
Hey!
live!
Hey guys,
Hi,
I'm Corey,
and I'm Alex.
and we're Wildly Intrepid.
So welcome. So tonight we're going to be doing a Q&A right from Saint Philibert in Quebec. So a bit of a different location. We are not on our sailboat right now because, well, we're kind of coming to visit family to say a little bit of a hi, bye, and then taking off. But
So we're gonna go over some questions that we've kind of accumulated over time on our YouTube, on our emails, and also even just some questions that we've been asked from friends and family and stuff. So don't feel free to comment down below if you have any other questions you'd like us to answer. That's the beauty of this live stuff. We get to actually have a conversation with you guys. So I'd love to answer any questions that you guys might have and just have some back and forth dialogue. That'd be awesome.
So, well, I guess we're gonna start with a bit of a question from Brad Primer that was asking us a little bit of questions when it came to budgeting for vaccinations. Bit of a tricky question because everyone has their own beliefs on vaccines. I was brought up, raised without any vaccinations whatsoever. Although when I got bit by a dog in India, I did get some rabies shots down there, which were actually quite affordable in India. You only had to pay, I think it was like $4 for one vaccine. But then when I came to getting one of them in Europe, that was almost $80. So vaccinations can be really cheap depending where you're traveling, but sometimes they can also be really expensive. But depending where your background is from, you might want to consider them.
Yeah, I mean, like I on our trip around the world, I ended up running into hepatitis. What is it? A? Yeah, hepatitis A. So obviously, if I would have did like the Twin Rex vaccination or any of those vaccinations, I wouldn't have had to deal with that, which would have been a lot nicer than going through all that process.
A little cheaper.
But you know, I chose not to do it. I took the chance, and you know, I survived. But anyway, I have, from my background, I have all my vaccinations growing up, going through school and all that stuff. So, yeah, we didn't see it as like a high priority for where we were going. Now, some countries require you to get vaccinations.
I believe yellow fever is one of those that you do need to have, which, coming from a North American background living in Canada, like North America as well as Europe, vaccinations are much more expensive compared to other countries. And there's also a big taboo of, oh, you should get all your vaccines in your own country before you get there because the health standard is not as good in other countries, which I have not experienced any of that. It's always been very regulated, the health standards, if not better than home sometimes, and all the needles are sterile. You see the packages and everything's brand new. So that's not something that I personally would worry about. So when it comes to cost, budget, a little bit of a tricky one for us to tell you how much you should budget for that, just because not that I don't believe in them. It's just for myself, I guess I've built a bit of my own immune system, but depending on every situation, I might actually go ahead and get some. So that's a bit more of a personal choice that everyone has to make for themselves.
Right on.
Yeah.
So that's that. Guys, remember, there's a few more of you that joined the group or the conversation, so feel free to ask us anything that you'd like down below. I'd love to answer any of those questions. We've also had multiple comments. Alex is going to be the one to answer this question, but plenty of comments all around what's up with the accent, or where's the accent from, or interesting narrative, or you know, all of those sort of things. So Alex can maybe give some input on where her accent is from.
Well, as I said, we are in Saint Philibert, so Saint Philibert pour les Québécois, so I am very French. I was born and raised in French. with, I guess, even more so a different type of accent than the rest of Quebec, just because of my family and uncles and everyone's, I guess, older, so there's different types of accents in here. And I also do speak a couple languages, so I guess that over the years I've picked up a bit of Spanish in between my things, a bit of English, Newfoundlandese, and I've got a melting pot of a lot of different things, so this is why I speak the way I speak. Which makes it interesting, I guess. So, another question, internet costs. That's, well, North America, Canada actually, internet can be very expensive, especially when it comes to like cell phone data plans. Probably one of the most expensive country in the world.
Yeah.
But when you're traveling abroad, there's places like India, for example. We spend about $12 for the month to have unlimited internet.
Yeah.
So that's something that was very affordable. And nowadays, there's Wi-Fi almost everywhere. I won't move my leg.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, internet has not even been. Oh, and just to let you know, that was another question from Brad. But internet is not really an option in a lot of other, or not an issue as far as cost. It's a lot lower of a budget than what we're used to here in Canada, or probably even compared to the States. And if you like go to other countries, I guess there's just a lot more people for a lot smaller urban area in some cases, or just people wouldn't be able to afford it otherwise, so the packages are lower, I guess.
In some countries, depending if you're in more remote areas, you won't really have internet, but then there's always the bigger cities that you'll have full access to it for fairly cheap or free. Well, nothing is fully free. If you're using Wi-Fi at a restaurant, you will have to buy a beer or a drink or something.
Yeah. And I mean, in some countries, Wi-Fi that's given as like their Wi-Fi is actually just a hotspot off of somebody's phone. So sometimes you don't end up with anything reasonable for speeds. But I mean, anyway, it's part of the luxury or the fun of trying to find internet, I guess. We also have a question from Sailing SV Slipstream. What type of anti-fouling paint do we use? If you haven't followed our videos, we painted our boat twice with the same kind of anti-fouling, bottom coat XXX, it's called.
From like Interlux.
Yeah, Interlux makes it. It's a really cheap type of anti-fouling paint. Typically, I think you only find it here in Canada, actually.
Yes.
And it's not as good, quality-wise as a biocide, comparing to a lot of the other anti-fouling paints.
Stronger ones. The thing is that our sailboat is in Port Colborne on Lake Erie, so it's part of the Great Lakes, so it's a bit more regulated when it comes to how strong the anti-fouling can be. So as of now, we're kind of sticking with this one because, I mean, our boat has been in the water for quite a few months already, and we didn't necessarily want to go ahead and strip the whole bottom to then apply another type of anti-fouling, just because we're still going to be in fresh water for quite a while. So we'll stick with this one for now and try to clean up the bottom of the boat for as long as we can, and when the bottom starts being bad, we'll switch to another type of anti-fouling, but that'll be when we get somewhere down south.
Sorry guys, I'm just looking at this. Let us know if the video quality is kind of degraded. It looks like we're not very used to this whole live streaming stuff. And normally I have the luxury of just, doing it on here, but it seems like YouTube has made this new point where you have to have 1,000 subscribers to be able to stream off of your mobile device, which I think is incredibly unreasonable. But that, I guess, motivates me to try to create better content for you guys so that you guys all subscribe and we can get past that 1,000 subscriber mark, because it's so much more convenient just filming off of this thing. But yeah, we can't do that anymore, so unfortunately all our live streams have to be done on the laptop.
which is a laptop that went swimming in the lake for a half hour, so it's still working though.
So yeah, let us know if the stream is clear or not. It's saying something about my current resolution, so we may need to adjust some things. So let us know, please, if there's any problems with that.
So another question from Alan Loves Music is a bit more of a technical one, which relates to our radar and solar system. So the radar that we have is it's an old model. It's an old JRC, which was given to us for free last year from like Saint Michel, from that were at the same arena as us. So it was a free radar, so we decided to go ahead and fiddle with it and get it working. So Corey had a lot of fun reconnecting all the different colorful wires. And we haven't played with it much, but it seems to be working half decent. Because initially we weren't even gonna get a radar, we were gonna go as is and go down, but it's kind of a nice extra, especially if you don't have to pay for it. And you want to explain a little bit our solar system?
Sure. I should have looked the model number and stuff, but basically they're 100-watt semi-flexible solar panels. We really like them because we can just tie wrap them to our rails on the side, our lifelines. Thank you. And they really work for what we need. I think lots of manufacturers make them, but yeah, they're the 100-watt semi-flexibles, and they seem to do the trick for us. We have 4 of them, and we also have an MPPT charge controller, if you want to know. It's
more in detail.
A 30 amp one, so it could take another couple of solar panels if we decided we wanted to.
Mm-hmm. We're getting about like 5 to 6 amps per solar panel, which gives us quite a bit of energy for now anyways.
I think 6 would be pushing it. It's closer to 5. 4 to 5 is, I think, more average. But yeah, anyway, you get the idea. We are getting more than enough power out of our solar panels to fit our needs, I guess. Mm-hmm. Remember, guys, again, I see a couple new people are online right now. Please feel free to let us know down below, and we'll mix in your questions with whichever ones that we're answering right now.
Mm-hmm. So Andrew sent us a nice email asking about...
By the way, it was a really nice email. If you guys don't feel like commenting or messaging on YouTube, feel free to email us. We always love having chats back and forth on the email.
And yeah, he's got a family with some kids and living... Well, what did he say? So he...
We just got a question in, actually, before we answer. Actually, no.
We'll carry on with this one.
We'll do it after.
Well, he says that he's got a family and he would love to see his kids live a bit more of a non-traditional lifestyle, but how do you manage doing that kind of lifestyle, and what happens later in life? What do you do, like pensions and those kind of things?
Just basically asking, do we think about that? Do we worry about that? Do we have plans for pension or for our future, so to speak? You know, a lot of people are really concerned about that and worried that, you know, if they leave their current position that they're being paid well in, or they feel very stable in, they will lose something, you know, that they won't ever be able to find anywhere else. And from our own experience, we've found that you'll always find that somewhere else. Maybe it won't be the same job, it might not be the same pay even, but you'll always find something that will, you know, get you by. And our mentality behind retirement, at least I can speak for myself, I don't believe that we're going to necessarily get a whole lot of money out of retirement, whether it's, you know, the Canadian pension fund or some sort of pension fund that I had contributed to. I don't want to rely on those things. I want to make plans for my own future, and, you know, whether that's continuing working my entire life or
doing the mini retirements, which is what we've been doing for a couple of years now, of working hard, saving money, reducing our expenses, and then enjoying life and taking off for a couple of months and exploring the world. Just because, I mean, I've seen a lot of people get to the retirement that they've been saving up for their whole life, and they can't really enjoy it, unfortunately. Either they physically cannot anymore, or they don't have the same drive, or they're not there anymore. So I don't want to put all my eggs in the same basket and just shoot for that 65 or 60 or however, whichever age it is. I want to try to enjoy my life throughout my whole life, just like my parents did.
Mm-hmm. Taking, so instead of leaving all of, here's our lifespan of our life, leaving all of our fun for the end of our life, where we are very time rich and we have plenty of money to spend, but no health to spend it on, or no health to enjoy those things that we want to do. Taking little slivers of that and spreading out all throughout my life, or our lives, has really made it so we're comfortable with our life, and it doesn't feel like we're gonna work, get to this end goal that hopefully we'll be able to succeed and retire and be happy, and never actually get there because you get sick or you can't do the things that you love to do.
And mind you, we do have quite a bit of savings, and we do have some money invested that we're hoping will eventually grow more, but it's just we don't have as much, I guess, as some people might shoot for. Of now.
And people are living later and later in life. Like retirement at 65 used to be, well, you'd retire and maybe live a couple more years and die, it seemed like. But now it's like people are living till 100, and I wouldn't, even if I did live a standard life, I wouldn't retire at 60, 65 and then live another 40 years doing next to nothing, because I don't expect I'll have the same ability as I have now as I will at 65. So I'll have to slow down certain things. Yeah, I might be able to travel, I might be able to do things I love, but it won't be the same way as I get to enjoy it now. So I'd rather take that slight risk where maybe we have an unsure future. It's not as solidified as somebody who has a pension fund or something, set up for them. But we'll be able to survive, and we'll always make it work, because we don't have a huge high expense life that we need to keep on paying for.
And that's key.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I think that kind of explains a little bit where we stand for when it comes to retirement or later in life.
Yeah.
As of now, but we all change. Our points of view vary greatly throughout life. So this is my 30-year-old thinking.
Yeah. We'll see how we feel in another 30 years. But Seth Ward was asking, are you guys planning on doing any spearfishing in the Caribbean? Any experience spearfishing?
Oh, yes.
No spearfishing experience,
no?
really, but I definitely plan to be doing some spearfishing. Actually, some friends of ours who came back, we met them when they headed down. They stopped at Port Colborne, where our boat is currently, and they were heading down the Erie Canal to Bahamas. And yeah, they left the Bahamas. They weren't able to actually catch any fish or lobster with their spear, so they passed it on to us because they were finished their journey. So we're really happy to test that out and hopefully catch something in the near future.
But Jeff and Trish, I promise you, if we catch some lobsters, we will put a picture.
Yeah.
And I call dibs on the spear gun, so I'll be the first one to try it. But yes, hopefully we'll be catching some fish. And actually, fishing with fishing rods as well.
And actually, even just free diving. Excuse me, I'm very passionate about getting better at holding my breath, being calm underwater. The last year I've been teaching myself how to equalize my ears properly, because I've always been equalizing with my diaphragm, and I wasn't able to do it well. Like as soon as you go head down, you can't equalize with your diaphragm. It doesn't seem to work right. So now I'm able to equalize using more of my throat. And yeah, anyways, it's just been like a fun journey to try to progress in that area. And I see more progression and more holding my breath for longer durations, doing breath hold tables and stuff like that as definitely part of my immediate future. I really like being underwater and doing things in the water.
So much fun.
Yeah, there's just so much to see. I love it down there. So definitely spearfishing is happening. Yeah.
So here's some of the other questions. I'm gonna skip.
Actually,
Or
why don't we
let's
get
just
to
tell you. We'll tell you a little bit on what's our plans for
before we do that. Why don't we say what we've like up to this point? You know, because a lot of people are kind of behind because our content is like
a little bit behind.
Good couple
2
months
months
behind now. I mean, we caught up there for a while, but now we're kind of behind as far as like real time. But yeah, I guess we've been really working hard on our boat, getting everything ready. We're still a little apprehensive, I guess, to get the boat finalized because we have to leave we're hoping by mid-September. But if it doesn't work out and we have to push it further, the latest we can leave is
end of September, because so the plans for this year is actually to go down the Erie Canal, which starts around Buffalo in the state of New York, and we'll be going down into the Hudson River, eventually to New York, and then we'll make our way down the coast of the States and into the Bahamas, Caribbeans. There's no full set like destinations, so we'll see where the wind kind of blows us. So we've been trying to get the boat ready for all of that, and still a couple of projects on the go to be done. So that's why anyways we have to be out of the Erie Canal by October 10th, because they'll be closed down for the winter. And I love Canada, but I would like to not spend the winter stuck here.
yeah, it's nice to live in a boat, but trying to deal with winter conditions and just finding a place in the winter and all the little nuances, it's not fun. I don't like winters in a boat.
Just a little bit more complex.
Yeah.
But there's not too much left on the boat that is like higher priorities. There's always going to be some projects. We'll always have something to do. We won't get bored. But yes, it's a bit more logistics to just get a couple of things done on the boat, sell our car, and get a bit of the paperwork done and ready for us to leave the country.
I was kind of daydreaming there for a second. Did you mention the motor mounts at all?
No.
So yeah, like the main projects I guess that we have to complete are our motor mounts need to be replaced, because the motor mounts, the rubber parts that support the motor, aren't absorbing the shock when the motor is shaking around, so it's getting transferred into our hull, and the bolts that hold the motor mounts in place and stuff are backing off. So anyway, long story short, we got to replace them. So that's going to be an interesting job, something we've never kind of had to play with before. So hopefully it all goes well and doesn't take too long, because that would suck. But anyway, whatever, we'll figure it out as time goes on, because that's the joy of owning a boat and figuring stuff out as you go. Because I mean, if you don't, I'm going to pay somebody to do it? No, it's not really an option. I don't have money for that. So
yes.
So that, and then the anchor. We bought a new Mantis anchor and a bow roller.
So we're going to have to try to install that and get our chain and everything ready for us to actually go anchoring quite a bit more, and not feel like we're going to be dragging in the middle of the night.
Yeah. So, again, guys, if you're new, it looks like some people are kind of flowing through a little bit in and out. Let us know down below if you have any questions, anything at all. Happy to answer it and have a chat with you, a little back and forth down in the comments or down in the chat section down below if it's still live. But even if it's not live, feel free to ask us in the comments, and maybe we'll do another Q&A in the future answering some of the questions from this video. So Alan Loves Music was asking what are our plans for 2019. Now we kind of just covered some of that.
So it's pretty much we're trying to run away from the winter and be a bit more in the tropics. Heading to the Caribbeans.
Yeah, I mean, we don't know exactly where we'll end up. We know we're going to end up in Bahamas. Definitely going to be following the coast of the U.S., getting down there. Probably
stopping
check
in
out.
Jacksonville because 2 of my sisters live there, and my niece,
Mhm.
and little niece and nephew.
Yeah. So doing some visiting. Check out the Keys. I've never really spent much time at all on the coast of the U.S. I haven't spent much time in the U.S. period. So it'll be really nice to kind of spend a longer duration down there. We also, through work and stuff, we've met some wonderful Mexican friends that we've made through work. And so we'll probably at one point head to Mexico. But really, nothing's like solidified, nothing's set in stone by any means.
Sometimes when you plan too much, you kind of miss out on pretty awesome opportunities, and you just feel stuck in that schedule and itinerary.
As our good friend Tom would say, you can overplan these things.
Love you, Tom.
So you really don't need to plan super far ahead. We know we're going south. That's all we really need to know. There's lots of sweet spots in the Caribbean to check out. Our boat isn't designed to cross oceans. I mean, it can, but it's not like its main purpose. It's a coastal cruiser / racer sort of thing. So it's not designed for that. It could cross it, but we're going to use it for what it's designed for, I guess, and just island hop and enjoy the coastal life.
There's so much to see anyways.
So what's next here?
Well, I guess we should talk about our sailing experiences. So, I mean, visiting with family, I've been getting quite a bit of that question of, like, do you have any sailing experiences? Like, you bought a sailboat, do you know how to do those things? And is it complicated?
Yeah, where'd you learn it?
Yeah.
Like it seems like such a crazy skill, but...
Which I really thought was initially. I thought that was
absolutely.
like for a whole different category of people, and that was just not a question, not an option for us.
No,
But,
go ahead.
well, but anyways, we ended up just meeting a lot of people along the way. Well, okay, so first off, when I get a dream, a goal in mind, I'm really stubborn, so I started being like, okay, this is gonna happen, we can do this. And we met some people that made us realize that it was much more attainable and much more affordable than I initially thought. So then we started hanging out at marinas quite a bit, which is pretty much where we got our feet wet and met some great people. And just by hanging out at the marinas, we started chatting with them, and there's a lot of people, especially older man, lady doesn't want to go sailing and they just want to have a friend, or I mean there's people from all ages really, but a lot of people that just want to have friends or someone to share the experience and someone to help them pull the lines or just leave the dock. And well, we were keeners. So we ended up just tagging along a few people and learning the ropes.
Yeah. There's so much to be learned if you're willing to learn it. Like obviously there's stuff like this all over the internet that you can pick up. You can type in how to sail and learn plenty of stuff by just free resources online. But you'll learn so much more if you just go down to your local marina, even if you just have a small little lake and there's like one sailboat. Try to find the guy who owns the sailboat and see if he likes to go out sailing. You'll be amazed at the things you'll learn, even at the people that don't sail very often and just get out every now and then. You'll see, like, you could do it. Yes, there's lots of nuances to sailing, and there's a whole art to trimming your sail and making it perfect so you get the most speed and the most efficiency, and you just really, like, you cruise. But you don't need to do that. You could just set the sails up, and it might do things a little messy and it won't look as nice, but you'll get sailing and you'll move from A to B and you'll be able to manage it. It's really not as complex as it seemed initially. Like, it just seems like there's so much stuff to manage, but I mean, yes, it's more than just a power boat. You've got a steering wheel and a joystick, and you just push and pull and steer. That's a power boat, and that's fine. I mean, there's trim. You have a few other things I guess you get to manage. Yeah. But sailing, there's definitely other things you have to manage. But you can basically, if you want to make it as simple as possible, as simple as possible, you can do that, and it's not as nearly as overwhelming as it seems.
And especially if you're at the marina, you can really choose the days you want to go out and learn and expose yourself more and more to harder, trickier situations, a bit more wind, a bit more waves, but you can like slowly introduce yourself to that. So we went sailing maybe 5 or 6 times before we actually bought our boat. And I would lie, first time I was a little stressed. First time taking out our boat because it's like, that's our baby now.
Yeah.
There's no one else to tell us what to do. Mind you, we had Lexi that offered to come with us the first time we took the boat out,
Yeah.
which I was really grateful for because we knew a little bit what we were doing, but
We
it
knew
was
nothing
just,
about what we were doing. Don't tell them that. We knew
Oh,
nothing.
yeah,
We had gone
yeah.
out a few times, but like when you're doing it yourself, you don't know what you're doing. Like, I mean,
It's just much more. It's more stressful. Like,
well, we had, if you are familiar with sailing, which a lot of you I'm sure are, we ran the jib sheets inside all of our stays and shrouds, like inside all of the cables that go up the mast. And yeah, I don't know, we didn't know any better. It seemed like that was
Yeah.
the right thing to do, but
She guided us in the right direction. We took all the lines out and reran them where they should be.
yeah.
But it's just like these things happen. Like, we've made little mistakes, but when you're learning, we never really went out in conditions that were too intimidating at first, just because we wanted to first off get familiar with our own boat, because sailing is all the same. It's all the same techniques with all the boats, but every single boat reacts very differently. So it was just nice to slowly get familiar with where all the winches, where all the lines were, how to pull up the sail and terminology and all that. Was quite a bit of a learning curve, but we really wanted to learn out of it, and we really wanted to make this our lifestyle. So we just kind of slowly got more and more skills, and everything happened so quickly. As soon as we got to the marina with the boat, we met so many people, and everyone's got tips to give you. So that was really, really nice.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you take one step at a time. You don't have to look at it like this big, huge thing that seems so overwhelming. You know, it's one small little baby step at a time. And somehow all of a sudden you realize, 6 months later, a year later, that you've accomplished this dream, this thing that you never thought you could do, this thing you never thought was possible is now something you do as your life, or as part of something you enjoy.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, it looks like we got a few other questions in here. This is the most activity I've ever had, or we've ever had on a live stream. This is awesome. So thanks, guys. Thanks for asking questions, and it's really nice to have some back and forth here.
So we have a question from Chris Curley. Okay, my accent probably sucks for that one. Sorry. Hi, are you planning on using the ICW or sailing outside on your way down the US coast? So I think we're going to be sticking to the ICW for a good chunk of it.
Mm-hmm.
Unless we get some really nice sailing windows, then we might hop out. But it might be a bit of in and out.
I think it's really the experience that we're looking for. So whether we're inside or outside, it's not. My goal isn't to do the whole thing on the outside because I want to just sail, or I don't mind being on the inside of the ICW, even though it might be hectic and there's certain things that there's pros and cons to both, and certain areas are faster than others. But I'd love to say that we're going to go on the outside for some sections, but I can't say for sure by any means because it'll all depend on weather and how fast we want to get somewhere and
how many places we want to check out. Because we're the type of people that it can take us a long time to get somewhere sometimes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Just because it's fun to, like, the way we travel is just more, it's not so much the destination, but it's the journey in between. It's stopping in all the places, meeting the locals, checking out cool landscapes. testing out the food and all those things. So it's fun to stop in between.
Yeah, absolutely. What do we have here? Mitch Copeland is asking if we're planning on adding any other solar to our boat. We've kind of danced with this question quite a bit back and forth between, oh, we for sure need more solar, to, oh no, we just need more batteries, to, oh no, we probably need both more solar and more batteries. Now I think we're kind of at the point where we're going to make do with what we have, which is 400 watts of solar. We might add wind over adding more solar, or we might add 2 rigid panels at some point. But our batteries are
I think the batteries, because we have 2 AGM batteries of 140 amp hours each, which like with running the fridge lights and all, and even like navigating at night and all of that, it's running really well with the 4 solar panels and those batteries. But we will be doing a bit more editing off of our battery banks, so that's something that we're a little bit worried about, that we might actually consider buying more batteries, or at least trying to do our editing more in those really hot sections of the day where you get most of your sun, and it's too hot to do anything anyways.
Yeah. So yeah, we're still dabbling with whether or not we're going to invest in more energy production, whether it's wind or solar or whatever. Right now, I think, like Alex says, we're going to look at a bigger battery bank, because there's no point in having more solar if you don't have a place to put it. So we have to consider that first. And I think our bottleneck right now is probably with the battery bank.
Yeah. Next question, or did you have anything to add?
I was just going to go through and say, it looks like Chris, I totally agree, Chris, sailing is learning, absolutely.
It is. Oh yeah, it's, you know what, like going through school you learn a lot of things, but I have never in my whole life learned as much since I bought a boat. Like, it's just everything. You've got to learn so many different things, from electricity to plumbing to, ooh, look at that, we're getting some light. It's getting a little dark here.
Add some light to the scenario here.
There you go. So yes, like, sailing has been such an intense and fast learning curve, because, well, you've got to run almost like a mini city within your boat, because you've got to know all the different systems. Because, I mean, we could pay someone and get them to do everything for us, but then, well, first off, we can't really afford this, and second, what happens when we're out in an island and something breaks? Because we've had things break more than once.
Yeah.
You fix something and the same exact thing might actually break, or something else. So we've been learning so much with sailing. It's been really, really exciting. I guess that's why we're loving it so much.
Mm-hmm. It keeps you engaged all the time, you know, even if you don't want to be engaged and you just want to sit down in a hammock or in your bed and just read a book or watch a movie, you're engaged because your toilet broke. You don't have a choice but to fix that damn toilet, because you're not going to enjoy your life without a toilet. So yeah, you're engaged fully in what you're doing and improving your living situation all the time.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, it's been awesome. It's been awesome. Okay, frustrating by times, but awesome.
Yeah.
Sail to Spear.
Hey,
Hi.
Sail to Spear. How's it going?
Awesome. I'm glad you've been following us from the start. Probably noticed there's been a lot of different things that happened.
Adjustments and changes, yeah. I don't know if you were following us before we were doing sailing, but yeah, we've been on YouTube for a little while now. We love creating content. It's definitely a passion. All right.
Next question.
Oh, wait, we got one more. Will we be sailing to Australia? Oh man, yes. I'd love to sail to Australia.
It might take a couple years.
Yeah, or a couple boats maybe. I don't know. Like I think before we go anywhere, before we go any like big distance, it's going to be a decision between the Pacific and the Atlantic, I guess. Because once we're south, we could do the Panama Canal if that's what we'd like. Or we could, sail across the Atlantic at some point and, do the Mediterranean, or There's just so many options. I definitely would love to go to Australia again.
Yes, we were there a couple of years ago, and wow, it's such a big island. It's huge. Like, we were there for, I don't know, maybe 2 weeks, which was way too short. And we saw so much, but so little at the same time.
Yeah,
So I really
it's too
want to go
big.
back. Oh, it was just such an incredible country with so much diversity.
Hmm.
And we've got friends over there that we want to go see again. So
Yeah.
we'll be there at one point for sure. It's just not sure when.
Yeah, one day, maybe with a bigger boat. I don't know. I'm not like obsessed with getting a bigger boat, but something at least that would handle ocean crossings a little nicer. At least like your comfort level being a little higher. Not because there's more space, but just because there's less bobbing around all the way. So that might be something to consider before going that far. But I'm definitely keen on, I think, doing a crossing, like maybe the Atlantic or something with the boat we have now.
Yeah, we want to sail around the world, or above the world, like Corey would say.
Yeah.
We want to explore this whole beautiful planet.
Yeah, because I mean, you could say I'd like to sail around the world, but you know, there's so many ways of doing that. There's people that like to just sail directly and like almost race around the world, and that's like, you know, non-stop sort of thing. And then you've got the people like Delos and stuff that like to sail nice and slow. We're much more of that style, I think, because we just want to sail about the world, like Alex says, and just see new areas, do new things. It doesn't matter where we are or what country it is. It's just experiencing new experiences and new cultures.
Next question. Okay, that's a bit of a funny one. Not
All right,
answering this.
We're gonna skip that one.
Chris says, enjoy the ride, nothing else like it. I started sailing in high school 20 plus years ago. Wow. This is incredible. You must have seen so much.
20 years of sailing. Wow, that is impressive, I have to say. If you don't mind, let us know like where you've sailed to. That would be
Highlights to check out.
Yeah, for sure. 20 years, and then like you've got experience that I can't even dream of.
We've got a lot of catching up to do, but everything starts.
Yeah.
We've got to start somewhere. Mitch Copeland, do you feel, having traveled as much, that you have... Do you
feel having traveled as much as you have has made it easier to transfer to sailing?
Probably,
certain aspects,
yes.
Maybe, yeah.
So we were actually discussing like a bit of like our fears in going into this new adventure, and I was saying how for myself the traveling aspect of the sailing world was the least scary, just because, well, I said we've traveled around the world for a while. So we've experienced a lot of different cultures and have dealt with a lot of different different customs, the logistics, paperwork, different currencies, different language. So that aspect of it is not scary at all. That's actually what makes it so much attractive to us, which is actually the main reason why we bought a boat.
Yeah.
Because we wanted to buy a house initially, but it's not us. We were just lying to each other. It's really trying to fit into that traditional lifestyle. So the boat it's a mean to see the world and keep on traveling with a little bit more comfort and a bit more toys.
Yeah. I think having traveled before maybe gets rid of that initial fear, that initial step that it takes to get past the like research phase of that you go through before you decide to travel, and it makes it feel like, well, this step isn't any bigger than when we decide to take a plane somewhere. It's just like now we're taking our home with us, so it's, I guess, a little different in that way. There's different anxieties or stresses associated with that. But they're not associated with the travel itself. It's more associated with the act of moving a boat from A to B.
Mm-hmm. So it's just a little bit of a different type of traveling, just because you do have to deal with, well, for the Caribbean, you do have to deal with the hurricane season. So you want to make sure you're not stuck in that area when it's hurricane season. And, well, we've got to leave Canada early enough so that we don't get stuck in the winter season. So it's just adapting to a different type of traveling, but that's what's really exciting.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
For sure.
So, what are we?
Go ahead.
Sail to spear, I only started 2 years ago and I had never sailed my whole life, but love combining sailing with my spear fishing. Awesome.
That's a great combo. I can't wait to combine the two myself, actually.
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome.
For sure. And where's your favorite location? That's such a hard question to answer.
You know,
it's not fair.
As soon as you start traveling, I feel like people ask you that. Like that becomes everybody's go-to question almost somehow. But like, yes, like Alex says, it's so difficult.
It's like every location has a bit of its own attraction. Like Central America for myself, well, it's just nice because I can mingle in with the locals easier just because I speak Spanish. So yes, I've got that attraction to the Latino kind of countries, so Central America and South America. But then all of Asia is so incredible because there's such a different type of culture shock. The food is incredible. The people are so friendly, and there's just so much diversity. So,
I think for me, it's a lot easier to pick highlights for like each location that I've been to. You know, like things that stand out to me as being like these life-changing experiences, or these experiences that I'll never forget, kind of thing. Philippines would have been swimming with whale sharks, as an example. Thailand would have been deep water soloing. Just some of the activities and the experiences that we've had have made those places what they are in our minds. And it's not just the place or the location. It's even sometimes like a location is super irrelevant. It's the people that you're with that make that location everything that it is. So I can't, sorry to just like bail out on the question, but
Asia is a bit of a location that has this strong meaning to me, a strong attachment, just because that's where I first started to travel from, like a 3-4 year old girl. So yes, I have that special connection to Asia, which I want to go back there and do some sailing.
yeah, that'd be awesome.
For sure.
There's just too many places to explore, and I mean the sailing world is just opening up this whole new world of things to see and do and experience, because we've always loved going, even when we fly places, going to coastal locations in those countries. I don't know, we're always attracted somehow to coastal locations. Maybe it's because we love water sports, surfing, snorkeling, all those sort of things that revolve around the ocean. But yeah, I don't know, there's just something about it. And now with a sailboat, we'll be able to continue that and even like go further, go to places we've never been, to completely remote locations ideally. And
I guess remote locations would be our favorite place to a certain extent. We love getting away from the super touristy destinations.
They're fun for a short period of time, but like living wise and like just exploring around, we'll get further away. Indonesia is an example. Bali was the biggest island. Well, we started at Bali. It was a great time. We moved to Lombok, still loved it. But the further we got away, the next island, Sumbawa, the better we enjoyed ourselves almost, the further we got away from civilization, so to speak. I mean, that's not because we're both super introverts. I mean, I am sometimes, but, we like to be around people. It's nice to be in nature as well, and not have to be with the hordes of tourists that sometimes come with these wonderful locations.
Wow, that's a lot of exploring, Chris.
Right on.
That's awesome.
Nice.
That is awesome. And scuba diving. I've done some scuba diving in the past. I haven't done any in almost 8 or 9 years now. It's a lot of fun. I absolutely love it, but it's also a lot of equipment to deal with.
Have you decided if you're bringing your scuba gear? Because we kind of had an arrangement. We figured out we still have a bit of room for toys in our boat. so I decided I'm bringing my kite and my kiteboard. And Alex,
my tank is actually expired, so I need to buy a new tank if I want to carry on scuba diving. And I think I will have to potentially will have to replace some seals with my octopus thing. So I'm still kind of debating if I want to bring it, because then that means I still gotta buy more things to play with that. But it's so much fun, you know? But we also only have a 33 feet sailboat.
Yeah, you only have so much room. But we've already, like I said,
I am bringing my mask and tuba and fins and that kind of stuff. Actually, I still gotta buy some new fins. But we will be doing quite a bit of snorkeling, and like Corey mentioned earlier, we want to get more into free diving.
Yeah, for sure.
Because you don't need as much equipment. We don't have to try to fill up our tanks somewhere, because we can't really buy a how do you call that?
We can't fit a compressor in our boat
Yes.
at all. I mean, it's way too big, unless our boat was just like made for that. But we love too many other things, I think, to just delegate it to scuba. But it's definitely, a thought for the future. I'd love to. And I mean, Alex just spoke about her history with scuba diving, but I have zero experience scuba diving. I've never been scuba diving before, and I'd love to, but I just haven't yet. So maybe I'll get my PADI cert at some point and get it all figured out. But I think I'd much prefer to do that in warm water somewhere in a cool location with sweet fish and stuff. But yeah. I don't know. We'll see if we bring the gear.
You do mention that we can rent tanks, and that's actually a good option. That's something I wasn't really considering about. So I've got another 3 days to fully decide if I am bringing all the gear with me or if it's staying behind at my parents' place.
I've heard of the renting of gear, but I've also heard like some people being hesitant, I guess, to rent gear in some places. I guess because of ratios of air and stuff, but I don't know. I'm assuming they have some sort of regulation or something in place to keep it somewhat safe. Wow, it's really getting dark in the background, guys. Sorry. Actually, I didn't think we were gonna make a 50-minute video, so I'm glad you guys are actually interested in this. Let us know, down below or whatever, if you'd like to see more of this kind of stuff. Personally, I'd love to do live streams a lot more often, but in the past we haven't had a whole lot of interest, and honestly, we can only come up with so many questions ourselves to answer, so it's nice to actually have some questions that you guys are asking and you actually are curious about, because we don't think about things the same way as we did a year or two ago, even when we were buying a boat. So it's really nice to have fresh eyes and fresh questions.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for watching, and we'll be carrying on.
Are we wrapping it up right away?
Oh,
because we still have a couple other things we wanted to go over. I was just thinking getting closer to wrapping it up. We'll try to wrap it up in the next 7 minutes. We'll make it like an hour or something. Oh wait, what do we got here? We're so not used to this live streaming thing. If you haven't noticed, sorry guys, we're not organized whatsoever. But we had a few questions that we had noticed were asked to us on our channel, so we wanted to share that with all of you. I hope you guys liked it. If you have any other questions, feel free to answer them down below. We did have a few others that we were going to go over, but maybe we'll just save them for...
a different one. It's getting a little darker, and there's a couple of mosquitoes. I'm itchy.
So yeah, we'll save whatever other questions down below, and we'll save the rest of our questions for the next Q&A. We can't wait to share our adventure. We're really excited for this coming season, because we're going to really be able to dive into our content full time, because neither of us will be working anymore. And we'll be working, but we'll be working for ourselves and doing things that we love. So that's super exciting. And we're hoping to provide you with the most takeaways and things that you can actually use to get yourselves out there and doing the other things that you love, whether it's sailing or something else that you love to do.
And thank you so much for following us and asking questions and being part of the Wildly Intrepid tribe.
Yeah, thanks, guys. Oh, speaking of Wildly Intrepid tribe, we've been trying to come up with a name for all of you wonderful people. It's hard to, like, there's lots of different nicknames that people come up with for their group of people, their community that they've grown. And I'd love to come up with a sweet, catchy, name or something for the group of you guys. So if you guys have any suggestions, let us know down below, and we'll definitely look into those, and maybe we can come up with something pretty fun together.
Bye, everyone, and have a good night.
Have a good one. See you guys soon.
See ya. Oh, is it?
Can you tell we don't know what we're doing yet? I think we can go here and stop